Something happened last week that has completely shifted the conversation around the Lakers. And I'm not talking about a game result or a coaching decision. I'm talking about a statement that came from one of the most powerful voices in basketball. Someone who has direct influence on the future of our franchise. And when this person speaks, general managers across the league listen. Welcome to Lakers News Fan Report, your home for the most up-to-date news, insider information, and deep analysis on our beloved Lakers. I'm here to make sure you're always ahead of the curve, always informed, and always ready to discuss the moves that will shape our championship aspirations. And trust me, what I'm about to share with you today is something that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of this season and beyond. Before I get into the details, I need you to understand the context of where we are right now as a franchise. We're sitting in a position where we have championship aspirations, with LeBron James still performing at an elite level and Anthony Davis dominating when healthy. But there's something missing. Something that's been holding us back from truly competing with the elite teams in the Western Conference. And the numbers don't lie. I've been analyzing our defensive metrics, and what I've found should concern every single Lakers fan watching this video. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening on the court. When I watch our games, I see stretches of brilliance followed by defensive breakdowns that cost us possessions, momentum, and ultimately, wins. We're a team built around two superstars, but the supporting cast, while talented in many ways, hasn't provided the consistent defensive anchor we desperately need in the front court. And this isn't just my observation. The statistical evidence backs this up in ways that are hard to ignore. Now, here's where things get interesting. There's been a conversation brewing behind the scenes, a conversation that involves one of the most respected agents in basketball, someone who represents not just any player, but our cornerstone, our leader, our number 23. When this person speaks about basketball strategy and roster construction, people pay attention. And recently, he spoke about something that has sent shockwaves through Lakers Nation and has had fans debating for days. Let me take you back to what happened. On a popular basketball podcast, this influential figure laid out a scenario that at first seemed almost unthinkable to many Lakers fans. He presented a trade concept that would fundamentally reshape our roster, addressing our most glaring weakness while simultaneously creating a path forward that makes sense from both a competitive and financial standpoint. But here's the thing that made this suggestion so controversial. It involves parting ways with a player who has become absolutely beloved by our fanbase. I'm talking about Austin Reaves, AR-15, the undrafted guard who came to Los Angeles in 2021 and won our hearts with his hustle, his basketball IQ, and his clutch performances. Austin isn't just a player to us. He represents something bigger. He represents the underdog story we all love, the player who wasn't supposed to make it but through sheer determination and skill became an integral part of our system. Jeannie Buss herself has been quoted as being the captain of the Austin Reaves fan club. That's how deep the connection runs. But here's where we need to have an honest conversation as Lakers fans. Sometimes, loving a player and doing what's best for championship aspirations require difficult decisions, and the person who made this suggestion understands basketball at a level that few people in the world do. Rich Paul, LeBron James' agent and the CEO of Clutch Sports, went on the Ringers game over podcast and laid out his vision for how the Lakers could solve their defensive problems in one bold move. Paul suggested that if he were running the Lakers, he would be targeting the Memphis Grizzlies as a trade partner, and not just for any player. He specifically mentioned going after Jaren Jackson Jr., the former Defensive Player of the Year, a versatile big man who can protect the rim, switch onto guards, and stretch the floor offensively. This is the kind of player that changes the entire dynamic of a roster. This is the kind of player that turns a good team into a legitimate championship contender. Now, before you close this video because you're upset about the Austin Reaves part, hear me out. Let me explain why this makes sense from a basketball perspective and why Jackson himself has now responded to this suggestion in a way that's worth discussing. Because yes, Jaren Jackson Jr. has broken his silence on this potential Lakers move, and his reaction tells us something important about how these players view trade discussions. In today's NBA. According to Joe Vardon of The Athletic, Jackson's initial reaction was to laugh when he first heard about Paul's suggestion. He admitted that in today's world of AI and deepfakes, he had to first figure out if the statement was even real. Jackson said there are so many podcasts out there that it's hard to distinguish what's genuine conversation and what's manufactured content. But the fact that he's addressing it publicly means this isn't just noise. This is a real conversation happening in NBA circles. Let's dive into why Rich Paul made this suggestion in the first place. Paul explained on the podcast that the Lakers need to make moves that benefit both the team and the players involved. He specifically mentioned that Austin Reaves deserves to get paid, and there's a world where trading him could be what's best for his career. trajectory while simultaneously improving the Lakers' championship odds. Paul even went as far as suggesting the Lakers try to acquire not just Jaren Jackson Jr., but also G.G. Jackson, the young developmental prospect from Memphis who could provide long-term value. Here's the basketball reasoning that makes this proposal so intriguing. Our defense has been a massive problem this season. We're currently ranked 26th in overall defensive rating. Even more concerning, we're ranked 28th in defending the pick and roll, allowing opponents to shoot 58.4% in those situations. That's absolutely unacceptable for a team with championship aspirations. When teams can run pick and roll against us and score that efficiently, it doesn't matter how good LeBron and AD are offensively. We're not going to win in the playoffs. Jaren Jackson Jr. would immediately solve this problem. The man is a former Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. He's 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan and the lateral quickness to stay in front of guards on the perimeter. He averaged 2.3 blocks per game during his DPOY season and has consistently been one of the best rim protectors in the league. But what makes him special is his versatility. He can guard multiple positions, which in today's switching-heavy NBA is absolutely crucial. Offensively, Jackson provides exactly what we need next to LeBron and AD. He's a legitimate three-point threat, shooting 32% from deep on high volume. That spacing is essential for LeBron's drive-and-kick game and for AD's post-ups. Plus, Jackson is only 25 years old, which means he's entering his prime and could be a cornerstone for us beyond the LeBron era. Now, let's talk about the financial reality of making this trade happen. Jackson is currently in the final year of his rookie-scale deal, earning $35 million this season. That's actually a very team-friendly number for a player of his caliber. However, starting next season, his Supermax extension kicks in and his salary jumps to $49 million annually. This is crucial information because it creates a very specific window for a trade. If the Lakers are serious about pursuing Jackson, they would need to act before his extension kicks in. Under the new CBA rules, with us being capped at the first apron, acquiring a player making $49 million becomes exponentially more difficult. But at $35 million for the remainder of this season, that's doable, though it would require creative roster maneuvering. Here's how the money would have to work. To match Jackson's $35 million salary, we would need to send out multiple contracts. Austin Reaves, at $13.9 million, would be the centerpiece. But we'd also need to include additional salary, likely some combination of Rui Hachimura at $18.2 million, Gabe Vincent at $11.5 million, or Maxi Kleber at $11 million. We're talking about a significant roster overhaul, not just a simple one-for-one swap. And this is where the emotional aspect comes into play. Trading Austin Reaves isn't just about moving a contract. It's about parting with a player who has become a symbol of Lakers culture. But I need you to think about this objectively for a moment. Austin is going to command a massive contract this summer. Sam Amick reported on FanDuel TV's Run It Back that all signs point to the Lakers paying Reaves a huge amount when his extension becomes eligible. We're potentially looking at a deal in the $25 to $30 million per year range. Is Austin Reaves worth that kind of money? He's a good player, no doubt. He's smart, he can score, he can facilitate. But is he a player you build a championship core around? Or is he more valuable as a trade asset that can bring back a game-changing defensive presence? These are the tough questions Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office need to answer. Rich Paul made an interesting point about this being an unemotional decision. He acknowledged that Austin is beloved and that he's an underdog story everyone roots for. But Paul also said there's a world where you can do what's best for your team while also doing what's best for Austin. If Austin goes to Memphis in this hypothetical scenario, he becomes a primary option. He gets to showcase his skills in a featured role, and he positions himself for an even bigger payday than he might get staying as the third or fourth option in Los Angeles. The Memphis situation adds another layer of intrigue to this scenario. There's been talk about the Grizzlies potentially making major roster changes. With Ja Morant's situation and the team's need to reshape their future, Jackson could become available in a way he hasn't been before. Memphis might view Austin Reaves as the perfect complementary guard to build around. Someone who doesn't need the ball in his hands constantly, but can step up when needed. From Memphis's perspective, trading Jackson would be about getting younger, more flexible, and potentially avoiding luxury tax complications down the line. Jackson's Supermax extension is going to make roster construction challenging for a small market team. By moving him now while his value is high, they could acquire multiple assets including Reaves and potentially draft compensation or young players. Let me address the elephant in the room. I know many of you are upset at even the suggestion of trading Austin. I've seen the reaction on social media. I've read your comments on previous videos, and I understand the emotional attachment. Austin's agent actually confronted Rich Paul after a game following these comments. which shows how seriously this suggestion was taken throughout the league. But as Lakers fans who want to win championships, we need to be honest about our current trajectory. Are we a championship team as currently constructed? With our defensive deficiencies, with our lack of a true rim protector who can also space the floor, with our struggles against elite pick-and-roll teams, the answer, if we're being objective, is probably no. We're a good team that can make the playoffs, but are we beating Boston, Milwaukee, or Denver in a 7-game series? That's much more questionable. Jaren Jackson Jr. changes that equation dramatically. Imagine a frontcourt of Jackson and Anthony Davis. Imagine the defensive versatility, the rim protection, the switching ability. Imagine what that does for LeBron in year 22 of his career, not having to expend as much energy on defense because we have 2 elite defenders behind him. Imagine the spacing Jackson provides, allowing LeBron to attack closeouts and create for others. The window for championship contention with LeBron is closing. That's not pessimism, that's reality. He's still incredible, still one of the best players in the world, but Father Time is undefeated. We need to maximize this window, and that means making bold moves even when they're emotionally difficult. This is what championship organizations do. They make the hard decisions that fans might not initially love but that position the team for sustained success. I also want to address the timing element here. If this trade is going to happen, it needs to happen soon. With Jackson's extension kicking in next season, the financial complexity increases exponentially. The Lakers have a window right now where acquiring him is feasible under the salary cap rules. Wait until next summer, and that window might be closed. This isn't something we can sit on and deliberate about for months. Decisions need to be made now. I'm not saying this trade is definitely going to happen. I'm not even saying it should definitely happen. What I'm saying is that this is a legitimate conversation worth having. When someone with Rich Paul's influence and basketball knowledge suggests a move like this, it deserves serious consideration. The fact that Jaren Jackson Jr. himself has now publicly commented on it means this isn't just podcast fodder. This is being discussed at the highest levels of basketball operations. What I want you to take away from this video is the understanding that building a championship team sometimes requires difficult decisions. It requires looking beyond individual player relationships and focusing on the ultimate goal. Banner number 18, hanging in Crypto.com arena. Austin Reaves is a great player and a better person. But if trading him brings back a former Defensive Player of the Year who solves our biggest weakness and gives us a legitimate shot at a title with LeBron and AD, that's a conversation worth having. The Lakers have always been about championships. That's our standard, that's our expectation, that's our legacy. Every decision should be evaluated through that lens. Does this move get us closer to a championship? In the case of acquiring Jaren Jackson Jr., I believe the answer is yes. The defensive upgrade alone would be transformative, and adding his offensive versatility creates matchup nightmares for opponents. So here's my analysis of the situation. If Memphis makes Jackson available, the Lakers need to aggressively pursue him. Yes, it means parting with Austin Reaves, and yes, that will be emotional for fans, but it's the right basketball decision. It addresses our most critical need. It provides long-term value with Jackson being only 25, and it keeps our championship window wide open while LeBron is still performing at an elite level. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Lakers should pursue this trade? Would you be willing to part with Austin Reaves to get Jaren Jackson Jr.? What other moves do you think we need to make to compete for a championship? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this is exactly the kind of discussion Lakers Nation needs to be having right now. If you found this analysis valuable and you want to stay on top of every Lakers development, every trade discussion, every insider report, make sure you're subscribed to Lakers News Fan Report and hit that notification bell. I'm bringing you this kind of detailed, thoughtful analysis every single day because you deserve to be the most informed Lakers fan possible. Share this video with your fellow Lakers fans. Let's get the conversation going. And let's figure out together what moves will bring us banner 18. Until next time, Lakers Nation, stay informed, stay passionate, and let's trust in the process of building something special.